Hello. I don't much. Okay. So hello everyone. So we will be starting our second class of genetics for the subject of plant sciences for the ICAR PG and the PhD exam 2026. I hope you all are doing good and you are very excited for all these classes of genetics that we have just started from the yesterday. So if you have missed the yesterday's class, just go to the YouTube channel of Aggregated English Medium, and where you can find the yesterday's class in which I started with the introduction to genetics, in which we have covered the complete history from the genetics to the cytogenetics. Okay. So after watching the video, I want you to comment on that video, like what are your views? Like, did you like the session or not? Like, if there are any improvements that are required in the session, please let us know so that we can make those improvements in the upcoming sessions. Okay. So we'll just wait for another 1 or 2 minutes and we can start. Just send this message to all your friends, like who are preparing for this exam. So let them join. So we'll have a very engaging and wonderful session with you. So anyhow, I'm very excited for the next session, which will be going to held in our agreed application or the website. So the students who have registered to our online master course for the ICAR PG and the PhD can directly join the classes through the Zoom link that will be provided, or else you can directly open the application or the website during the time of class, and directly from there you can join the class. Okay. Yes. Hi Vidya. Hi Muthu. Someone has asked regarding, like, if suppose completed MSc seed science, can I be eligible for PhD plant pathology? No, actually this cross eligibility is not applicable for the PhD. So there is a cross eligibility for the ARS entrance exam. Like, if you want to be a scientist there, even if you have done it with the seed science, or if you have done it with the genetics and plant breeding, or like other subject like plant genetic resource, there is a cross eligibility. So everything is very clear in the blog section. The Who is this viral Avi? Like, if you have not understood, like, regarding the eligibility of ICAR PG, ICAR PhD, the ARS exam, the ASRB net exam, all those details are available in our website. So I'll just quickly show you like how you can access it. Please just visit the website and you just read the complete document. Still, if you do not understand any particular thing, you can directly text us on the WhatsApp and clarify it. So for everyone, if you are not completely aware of any exam, any agriculture related exams, you can find all those things in our AgriEdict website. Just search for AgriEdict. So once you search for AgriEdict, so you just click on this. So here in the top section, you can find the blogs, right? So click on the blogs. Blogs are nothing but the articles. So side, there is like ARS examination, ASRB net. So here, if you just click on the ARS examination, so in this, there is a complete guidance eligibility in which it is mentioned that even a student is completed from the PGR, they can write the genetics exam. If the student is completed MSc from genetics, they can write the PGR. This cross eligibility is applicable for only the ARS exam. But if you have pursued MSc in one department, you will not be directly eligible for the PhD into the other department. So where you can find that detail? So if you just scroll down, you can find the ICAR PhD exam, right? This ICAR PhD exam. So if you just click on this exam details, you can find the complete eligibility details. So if I have to show you, see who is eligible to write, for example, seed science. Who is eligible to write the seed science PhD exam? Only the student who has done the seed science in the masters. Eligibility qualification for the state agriculture universities, central agriculture universities, and the ICAR deemed universities, master degrees in. They should be completing their master degree in genetics and plant breeding, not to write the genetics and plant breeding. They have to complete the seed science as a master's in order to write the seed science. So you ask for the plant pathology. So for plant pathology, specialization should be like plant pathology or plant protection with the specialization with the plant pathology. If you have this degree, only you will be eligible to write the ICAR PhD exam in case of plant pathology. So one doubt, sir, I failed to pay the seat acceptance fees for the UG today. I can't upload the documents. Can I go to the allotted university? Actually, we currently do not deal with the UG. So to be very honest, like we do not have any information regarding like how the UG counseling is going on and what are the updates regarding this. So please contact any other concerned person who is dealing with the UG so that they can provide you the quick guidance. Okay. So coming back, let's start with the class. So today, if you remember from the previous class, I asked you all a one question. I'll discuss the one question first, and then we can go for the today's class. So can anyone tell me like what question did we discuss? Anyone? I asked one question for everyone. So just type it in the chat box. In the meanwhile, I'll just start in the intro and just I'll start the class. So today is the second class for the genetics for the subject of plant sciences for the 2026 ICAR PG and the PhD course. And today we are going to deal with the topic of evolutionary genetics. So this evolutionary genetics, we are only concerned with the intro. Okay, we are currently dealing with this topic in a brief manner, but still, even if I say brief, I'll try to cover many things in a very concise and simplified way. Why I'm saying it is in a brief manner, because you will not be needing this in depth for your ICAR PG exam. It will be only required for the CSIR, and it might be required for the ICAR PhD exam. But since we are starting with the basics, so I'll be trying to concise and simplify these things which are actually needed for your exam. Okay, so all enzymes are proteins. Yes, very good. Okay. So this is regarding the intro. Like we will be covering the evolutionary genetics, particularly if you talk about the BD Singh book. So what is the name of the chapter? It is actually theories of evolution, right? So theories of evolution is a part of evolutionary genetics. So what I have done here is, along with this theories of evolution, like all other things which are important for your exam, so I'll be also covering. So that's why like the comprehensive term will be like evolutionary genetics. So do not get confused with the terms, sir. In the BD Singh, it is with the theories of evolution, and you are teaching evolutionary genetics in a second class only. Okay, so that just to clarify. So before we continue, just again a brief introduction about myself. I am Ari Prasad, a PhD student from Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi, and from the Seed and Technology. And I have cracked this ICAR PG exams with All India 48th rank in 2020 and ICAR PhD exams in All India second rank in 2022. And in between, I cracked the IBPS A4 mains. Plus, I also cracked the ASR BNet in the subject of seed science. And overall, I have like 4 years of teaching experience. My expertise is genetics, seed science, crop physiology, biochemistry, and the biotechnology. So these are the key subjects which I teach in this aggregated platform. Okay, so this is about brief intro. Next, the evolutionary genetics that we are going to deal today. So the very first question which arises here is about the origin. So if I ask you, if I just ask you all, like how the living organism originated on the earth. So what do you answer? What is the explanation, like how the living organism came into existence? If I just ask you a question about origin, how life came into existence on earth. So what is your quick answer? So before that, the enzyme wala part I'll clear. So all enzymes, so this is not a complex question, it was very simple questions. So all enzymes are protein. So this was the first one, and all proteins are enzymes. So second one is obviously not true, that not all proteins are enzymes, but the first one is mostly true, but still there are exceptions. The one exception is like ribozyme. That's it. So these kind of questions you can definitely get in exam. So do not get confused with this simple type of questions. It's very, very important for you. Please note it. So coming back, so origin of life. Quickly, anyone? So what is this origin of life? So tell me, anyone, how the living organisms came into existence? So what are the different theories that you remember? There might be a lot of theories that might be going in your head, starting with the theory of spontaneous generation, theory of natural selection. There is neo-Darwinism, there is a Darwinism theory, there is Lamarckism theory. The other things might be like germplasm theory, epigenesis. There are a lot of things in your mind. But what is the exact answer? And if there are a lot of theories in your mind, like how to synthesize it, how to remember them, what are the different events that are occurred step by step, the year by year, the time by time. So that is what I'll be going to do it today. So where I'll be simplifying the things, I'll be giving you the correct order of events that have been occurred, and we will differentiate what are the difference between the different theories that are given by the different scientists. That is what is very, very important for your exam point of view. Yes, quickly tell me, I'm waiting for your answer. Life, very, very simple question. So how life came into existence on Earth? That is like how living organisms came into existence. Any theories, like anything that you know that you can answer? At least I'm expecting some answer from you. If not right answer, at least some answer from the non-living matters. Okay. So which theory explains this? That from non-living matters, the living organisms came into existence. Yes, very good. One is like theory of spontaneous generation. I'll just write the abbreviations. Theory of spontaneous generation. What other than that? What other than spontaneous generations, like do you know the theories about? Have you heard about the abiogenesis theory, the chemical evolution? What does this abiogenesis theory explains? So just these two are the answers for what question I have asked. So how they are related to the question, I will be discussing in this class. And at the final, so we will be getting the answer about how life came into existence on Earth. So before we study this evolution, the origin, the one thing you have to know, what we have to know, see, you have several different theories. Starting with, you have Lamarckism, you have Darwinism, you have neutral theory of evolution, you have neo-Darwinism, you have mutational theory, you have epigenesis, you have germplasm theory. So there are a lot of different theories, pangenesis theory, and you have the pangenesis theory. Okay, these are like different types of theories like you have. But preformation theory, yes, very good. So these are different theories which are lead to, yes, origin and evolution, but they are very complex and they are mixed up. So first thing is to differentiate what these theories explain about. See, if you just try to simplify it, all these theories explains about the two things. One is like origin, and few theories explains about the evolution. So now if you try to understand about like which theory explains about the origin, that how the origin came, like how the life came into existence, and which theory actually explains about the evolution. So what exactly is the evolution? What do you understand in the simple terms? If you want to explain the evolution in the simple terms, what does the word says? It is just the changes in the characters, changes in the traits. That's evolution, right? Evolution is like changes that is occurring from the time to time. It's all about the evolution. In the evolution, what do we study? We study how the changes is occurring generation by generation, how in the span, like entire lifespan of the specific or the entire timeline, how the changes are occurring within the species. So that's about the evolution. But before evolution, one thing we have to understand is about origin, like how the life came into existence. So this is what we are going to talk about. Okay, so there are some answers, very good. So you people are answering it, fine. So let's start with the origin. So first thing, the very, very first thing about the origin that you have to understand is first concept, that we are only concentrating on the very, very important events. Okay, see, if you ask me, sir, we covering all the different theories? So there are n number of theories that have been given in the evolution genetics, but not all of them are important. So what is necessary and what is important, which had like prime impact during that time, only those things we are going to discuss. The very first thing regarding the origin was like theory of spontaneous generation. So who gave this theory of spontaneous generation? Anyone? So it was originally by Aristotle. So what, according to the Aristotle, what does this theory of spontaneous generation explains us? It simply explains us that all the living organisms came directly from the non-living organisms. So now tell me whether this is true or not, that all the living organisms from non-living organism, non-living matter, not even the organism, non-living matter. So is it true? So who disproved this? For the first time, who disproved this? So we can immediately take about the disapproving this theory. Who disproved this? Before disproving, there is another event. I can write it here. So challenging. Who challenged this first? There are two scientists with some experimental evidence. They challenge. Who is there? Right, Reddy and Spallanzani. They challenged it, but it was finally disproved. And by whom? Yes, it was finally disapproved by whom? Yes, false, Reddy, okay. Francisco Reddy and the Spallanzini, that is true. But the final climax, the final conclusion was given by, yes, very good. It is by Louis Pasteur. So I won't be going in detail about like what are the events, like so what are the experiments they have done, what experimental material they have used, like how they have disproved it. So this is like all the very simple things that you can remember. But the short things that you know should be knowing is it started with the theory of spontaneous generation, which was given by Aristotle, where he said like all the living organisms came from the non-living matter, but it was challenged by Reddy and Spallanzini, but finally disproved by the Louis Pasteur. So after this, the second very important theory was preformation. So what does the preformation talks about? Who gave this preformation theory? If you remember, Swammerdam and Bonnet. They gave this theory of preformation. So what exactly the preformation talks about? Anyone tell me? So here in the preformation, like one thing that you have to remember is in the preformation, the miniature is already present. But again in this, there are two things, two important terms, animalculist and the ooist. So what is the difference between the animalculist and the ooist under this preformation theory? So in the animalculist, they were the supporters for this particular theory where they said the sperm is the main cause for the formation of the zygote, and the egg only produced the nutrition. So this was regarding the animalculist. So all the supporters of this theory were called as animalculist. And what about the ooist? So ooist believed that the egg was the main responsible for the formation of embryo, and this sperm only produced the stimulatory effect. So the whoever like supported this one, they are called as ooist. So this is regarding the preformation theory, and which was given by Swammerdam, and the Bonnet. So this is the second important after the theory of spontaneous generation. So what after the preformation theory? What was the next one? Which is the next theory after the preformation? We'll go step by step. Anything that you can recall, which talked about the origin, like how the life came into existence. Yes, epigenesis. Okay, very good. So third one is like epigenesis. So what exactly epigenesis talks about? Epigenesis was given by Wolf. Okay, right. So what does this talk about? What according to the epigenesis, what does it explain? It explained about how the tissues came into existence. See, it mentioned that the undifferentiated mass was converted into tissues. But along with this term, it has mentioned one more thing. All the structures, all the developed structures and organs actually came de novo. So de novo. What is this de novo? It is means like freshly, new. Okay, they have come up on their own. The new structure and the organs, they have come up their own. So this was the second statement. First one was like all the undifferentiated mass gave the tissues, but this structures and the organs, they came into existence de novo. So whether this is true or not. So about this epigenesis theory. So is it true? Epigenesis from the beginning. Okay. So is it true? Yes, like I need some quick answers so that we can go forward. So this is true that all the structures and the organs came de novo without any precursors. Without any precursors, all the organs and the tissues that we have in your body has come de novo. The cells, adult tissues, yes. Some are saying no, some are saying yes. Just think and answer like what it is, yes or no. So this was not entirely true. This is the second part. So it was challenged by famous successor Van Baer, where he mentioned that all of them come up with the sequence of differentiation. All the grown-up structures and the organs, they come up with a simple process of differentiation. The simple organs, the tissues, get into the differentiation process, and that's how like the entire structures and the organs grow. So this is just a correction for what the epigenesis theory explained by the Wolf from the Owen Baer, which is now universally accepted. This part is now universally accepted that how the tissues and the organs came into origin. Okay, so all about the origin of tissues, all the about the origin of life. So this was explained. The third part, the epigenesis. So what after the epigenesis? So till epigenesis, we came to know about the structures and the organs. After that, the one question still existed was how life came into existence. So this was in the 19th century answered by the chemical evolution. So what does the chemical evolution theory explains us? Chemical evolutions, or you can say abiogenesis. Or if I have to give you the hint, there are two important experiments, operan and aldane, and you can also take Urey Miller experiment. So can anyone recall if you have already read it in the 11th, 12th, or any time later or earlier? So these two experiments after which explained regarding the chemical evolution, like how life came into existence, which is like most accepted one, for which like they have also produced the experimental evidence. Anything that you can recall? Quick. We started with the theory of spontaneous generation. So after the theory of spontaneous generation, it was disapproved. Then we went to the preformation, and then we have come up with that epigenesis. And after epigenesis, we are talking about the abiogenesis, which is like theory of chemical evolution. So how it is here, this abiogenesis, like if I have to talk it in simple terms, like simple inorganic molecules which the very early earth had. The scientists assumed that in the early earth, which was lack of oxygen, it has mainly like water vapor, it had ammonia, right? So and methane. So this simple inorganic molecules, along with the help of in addition with the sunlight, the UV radiations, the high temperature on the earth, so these conditions gave up to the simple molecules like amino acids. So these amino acids later formed as a polymers, and these polymers then gave the RNA, that is nucleic acid, and from the RNA, this RNA was enclosed in the tissues or enclosed within a cell, and then it got evolved. We currently have the DNA plus also the RNA and the proteins. So this is what the abiogenesis explains us. So here abiogenesis is also connecting with the one of the very famous hypothesis is like RNA word hypothesis. Okay, so this is what currently we have right now about the origin of life. So although like we can't 100% say anything because we cannot replicate the exact conditions, and we cannot go back in the history and find out how it is, but this is the one which we have the answer to the question like how the life existed on the earth. So is it clear for everyone? Is it clear for everyone? Just put a thumbs up if it is clear about the origin. I try to simplify it. I try to oversimplify it. This is how it is. Quick. Thumbs up, one thumbs up if you have understood, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Quick. I'm waiting for your answer. Okay, someone is asking to repeat. Okay. I'll try to repeat in the single line. So how we talked about the origin. The very first event was theory of spontaneous generation, which was given by Aristotle, which told that all the living organisms came directly from the non-living matter. So that was disapproved. Like it was challenged first by Reddy and Spallanzani, and next it was finally disapproved by the experiment conducted by the Louis Pasteur. And after that, we have like preformation theory, which talked about all within the zygote already the organisms is preformed, and this was given by Swammerdam and Bonnet. And after this preformation theory, so next theory was regarding epigenesis, which talked about how the tissues and organs develop. It was given by Wolf, and then it was challenged by his successor von Baer. And next after this, we have in the 19th century, we have one of the very important theory, which is like theory of chemical evolution, which talked about the abiogenesis, how the life came into existence with the series of experiment, in which two experiments are very important. One is like open and online, and the other one is like Urey-Miller experiment. That's it. Okay. So this is about the origin. So everything related to the origin is like these are the very important theories. So all the other theories that you have heard, it only talks about the evolution, the changes. So do not get confused with the theories. That if you are talking about the Lamarckism, what does the Lamarckism tells about? What does the Darwinism tells about? What the neo-Darwinism tells about? What the mutational theory tells about? All of them talks about the evolution process, how the evolution has occurred. So if I have talked about the evolution, the very first one is like Lamarckism. So Lamarckism, the Lamarck theory, what does this explains? So you have that tagline, you know that, the theory of acquired characters. So in the 2025 PG exam, asked the sequence of theory. Yes, it asked the sequence of the ascending order. By the next class, I will drop this exact questions. So today I was not able to do it, but in the next class, I will drop the questions and I'll make you to answer the same questions after explaining. Okay. So first thing was Lamarckism. So we talked about theory of acquired characters or theory of acquired characters. So this was originally supported by the Aristotle too, or originally quoted by the Aristotle too. So this talked about the theory of acquired characters. So what does this theory of acquired characters tells us? Anything to answer? Inheritance of acquired characters, that in a lifetime, if the organisms having some of the organs which it is frequently using, those organs will develop, and whichever the organs the organism is not using, that will be eliminated in the upcoming generation. So this is what, in the simple terms, the theory of acquired characters tells us. And the very prominent examples is about the giraffe. So you might be knowing it. So giraffe is like one of the very, very important exams where the Lamarck explained this theory with this example, that the giraffes using the neck, and there were tall plants and tall trees in the region where the giraffes were lying. So that's how, like eventually over the period of its lifespan, so the period of the timeline, the neck got increased, the size of the neck got increased. But this was finally disapproved by what? Like it was severely criticized during his lifetime, the Lamarck theory, where he gave like theory of acquired inherited traits, theory of the acquired traits. So who disproved this? Any answer? It was disproved by the having a simple experiment where for 22 generations, like the mice tail was cut. If you remember the things, like you might be remembering this experiment where the tails of the mice were cut for the 22 long generation, and they were seeing like every progeny was having the tail. Okay, not even a single progeny was tailless. So because of that, this was simply disapproved. Okay, so I won't be reading all of these things. These are only just to understand the concept, but whatever is required, I've explained to you. Okay, but just go through it once. So after the Lamarck theory, what is the other one? Next one, the second one after the Lamarck theory. Very good. The second one is like Darwinism. So what does this Darwinism theory talk about? So it is about theory of natural selection. So here the Darwin, what he explained that if there is a population with a large number of species, large number of organisms within a species, so from generation to generation, it is because of the natural selection that the species is evolving, the species are changing. So that is what the Darwinism talks about, the theory of the natural selections. All of this is compiled in a book called as Origin of Species. It was published in the year 1859. So all the evidences that he collected, where he has traveled for the different islands, whatever he has observed, so all of this is compiled to form a Origin of Species book, in which he has given this theory of natural selection, where he mentioned that so all the changes in the traits, the evolution which is occurring, it is because of the evolutionary force. The evolutionary force here is like natural selection. How this natural selection occurs? So what is the main reason for the natural selection? He talked about two important terms. So what are the two important terms? He said, so all of them, there is a population within a species. Let's consider there is a 100 number of individuals in a population. So he mentioned that inherently all the individuals are not same. So even if the individuals are available here, the food supply, the food might be scarce within the population, within the area. Because of a scarcity of food, there might be competition within the population. So first thing, the first point was the struggle for existence. Why there is a struggle for existence? Because the resources are, although like population is uniform, but he mentioned that there is a struggle for existence. Why there is a struggle for existence? Because the resources which the population is using, it is limited, right? There is no unlimited resource. Because of this struggle of existence, there is a competition within the species of the population. So in this, because of this competition, there will be only the survival of the fittest. So these two different terms simply explains the complete theory of Darwinism. That first there will be struggle for existence. After that, since there is a struggle, only the fittest of the individuals will survive, and because of that, the traits that individual have will pass to the next generation, and the weakest will be eliminated. So whatever traits the weakest have, that will not be passed to the next generation. Okay, so this is what exactly the Darwinisms talk about. So in between, there are other events which is related to the plants and animals, which is also important, that will cover it here. So in the 1673, de Graaf, it was the first time proved that tiny vesicles of the mammalian ovaries were eggs. First time the eggs were discovered here. Next, Spallanzani in 1785 proved that the presence of sperm. The sperm was essential for the development of progeny. So during this time only there were debate regarding the ovist, animalculist over the same period because of these discoveries, that someone has discovered the egg, someone has told that sperm is necessary. Because of discovery of these things, the several different theories came into existence. One such theory we got to know about is the animalculist and the ovist. Next, in the 1875, there was a conclusive proof that it is because of the fusion of sperm and the egg. It was given by Hartwig in the sea urchin, that the embryo is formed because of the fusion of sperm and the egg. Next, Grew, he described the stamens, the male reproductive organs in the flowers, and in the 1694. So one thing you will definitely have the doubt here, sir, these things are fine, we'll be able to remember the scientist and also we'll be able to remember the events that has occurred, but what about this years? So whether it is really necessary to remember the years or not. So what do you say? Is it necessary or not? Students, you can answer this. You might have like already, like if I assume like you might have already gone through the previous year papers. So what do you think according to that? This years are important for you people or not? Yes, anyone, like what do you think? Just tell me something that you know. Some of them are necessary. Like how will you know that which of them are necessary? That's the question. So what I would like to say is, like nowadays, like how they are asking the questions, they don't directly ask that Grieve gave this description in which year, or de Graaf proved these tiny vesicles in which year. No, they will not ask like this. They will give all the events and they'll try to arrange. They will ask you to the arrange on a chronological order. So if they ask it, it's one and the same, that you have to at least know like which was the first event, which came after the second, which was third. So at least you have to know the series, or most importantly, you have to know the year. First priority is year. If by any chance you are not able to recall the year, at least you have to know that what event took place after which event. So this becomes very, very necessary. So don't think that in the previous year they have not asked directly about like in which year this event has occurred. Yes, they are not asking like that. But nowadays, if you just see the 2025 pattern, what they are doing, they will give all the statements in 5 to 6 statements, like 4 to 5 statements, and then simply they will ask you to arrange on a chronological order. And the options will be so much confusing that if you do not know the year, so it is very difficult to answer the question. So I would suggest try to remember maximum events, like already the events are very limited. In even in the limited number of events, if you just skip something, so that will be problematic for everyone. So don't do it. Okay. So next, I talked about 1964. Camararis showed that this maize did not set the seeds without the pollen. So this again shows that pollens were necessary, which is the male gamete, in order to set the seeds in 1717. So one of the very, very important event. See, you again find this question in most of the agriculture exams. So it is regarding the Thomas Fairchild. What was it? The first artificial hybrid in the plants by Thomas Fairchild, which was cross between Sweet William and the Carnation. So just remember this year and also the scientist, and it is between the Sweet William and the Carnation. I guess like most of you know it, but do not have any confusion on this. Okay. And next in 1823, Amici described the entry of pollen tube in the ovary, like how the pollen tube entry takes place in the ovary in the plants. So when we talk, when we'll go for the floral biology, we'll be discussing each and everything about the ovary, about the embryo sac, and how the pollens enter to the pollen tube. Everything will be discussed. Okay. Okay. This is okay. Pure. Okay. Good. Okay. So next, the 1884, the Strasburger, the fertilization in the angiosperms was explained and noted the fusion of the sperm and the egg nuclei. This was in the 1884. So these are the list of the events, the very, very important events with respect to the reproduction in the plants and the animals that took place in a same timeline. So that's why I added in between. So next, talking about the evolution, I told about the Lamarckism. So here, just to explain, origin was done. Next question was evolution. Everyone in the 18th and the 19th century were concerned about one important thing. It was regarding again like how the hereditary material was like transferred to one generation to another generation. They did not know about this hereditary material, but they were just seeing the phenotypes, like the changes in the organisms, the variations, like how these variations are passing on to generation to generation. That was the question. It's all about the evolution. So the people started studying the differences and the similarities. And in this weave, like the Romans and the Greeks were the first one to study about the similarities between the organisms and to quantify it. So in this, during this time, all these theories were actually compiled to form the very important following theories about like how and why the evolution took place. It's all about the evolution. First thing, we talked about the Lamarckism. After that, we talked about the Darwinism. And then we have like another important theory called as germplasm theory. After germplasm theory, there is one more theory which is called as mutational theory. And next we have the neo-Darwinisms. So after neo-Darwinisms, we have another two important theory that you have to answer me. Any one of the theory, if you answer, so I would definitely appreciate. Someone, fair mule, like Fairchild mule. Okay, got it. So I wrote it like fair mule only. It's Fairchild mules. Okay. So the latest one. See, this is according to the timeline only. Do not get confused with the timeline. This is according to the timeline. The other latest theories related to the evolution. Vapor theory, pangenesis. Okay, pangenesis, consider that within the Darwinism only. Okay, Darwinism, while the Charles Darwin gave the Darwinisms, the another theory also he proposed, which is like pangenesis theory. So what are these pangenesis? So small miniature will be always there for all the organs. So that will be circulating within the body, and that will eventually go in the gametes. And this is already prepared and fixed. And this pangenesis will develop into the individual. So this is what the pangenesis theory explains, and which was directly or indirectly supporting the Lamarckism theory, right? But they were both at the same time disapproved by the Weismann, like someone has earlier said it. So it was disapproved by the August Weismann, who gave the germplasm theory. I'll explain about germplasm theory. Okay. So another two theory, the important theory, the endosymbiont theory, that is not exactly with respect to the evolution part which we are talking about, although it tells us about how the cell organelles came into the eukaryotic cell. That's fine. But here what I was talking about, the another one theory is like shifting balance theory of evolution, like how exactly the evolution took place. It is here in the shifting balance theory, if I have to talk about in the simple terms. So here it explains that there is a large population. If in the large population there is some differentiation, if there is a segmentation, so this segmentation will lead to the evolution. So this is what it explains. Okay. So last one, who is neutral theory of molecular evolution. So who gave this neutral theory of molecular evolution? Anyone? The name of scientist. The name of the scientist who gave the molecular neutral theory of molecular evolution. Quick, quick. Just think and answer, like who gave it. So these are the things that are very, very important. Like if you remember all these things, your evolutionary genetics part for the ICAR PG and also the PhD, the minimum part, like basic part is done. Anyone? So Japanese scientist, you might have already heard about all the scientist name. That's why I'm asking and stressing it. Moto Kimura. So he gave this neutral theory of molecular evolution. Yes, Kimura. Yes, very good. Someone has answered it. M. Lerner. Very good. Okay. So if you are able to come up with your original names while you come for the YouTube, that would be better for me to at least know you people. So one thing, germplasm theory. After that, okay, Charles Darwin, organic evolution. So this is done. And the next germplasm theory. So it was given by the August Weismann. So this is fine. So the complete sequence like Lamarckism, Darwinism, germplasm theory, and next mutation theory, neo-Darwinisms, and then we have shift imbalance and neutral theory. So I'll explain the neutral theory in bit detail because it is bit important to understand the evolution process. Plus, before that, let's finish this germplasm, mutation, and the neo-Darwinism theory. So, germplasm theory. What does this germplasm theory explains us? First thing, who gave it? It was given by August Weismann, right? So, what does this theory explains? It explains that the cells are actually divided into two different types. One is somatoplasm and other one is germplasm. And germplasm are the one where the cells which contribute to the gametes, where the gametes are formed. And somatoplasm are the somatic cells. So here one valid point or very, very important point that this germplasm theory gave was the cells in the somatoplasm are not contributing to the progeny. They are not contributing to the progeny. Only the changes that occurs in the germplasm is going into the gametes, and that is why it will be visible in the next generation. So this was the very, very valid and very important point that was made by the germplasm theory about the somatoplasm and the germplasm. And this has actually disproved the Lamarckism and the Darwinism pangenesis, not the theory of natural selection. The theory of natural selection was not disproved. The pangenesis theory which was given by him and the Lamarckism theory was disapproved here. Okay. Okay. So next thing. So after this, there is a one more important theory called as mutational theory. So who gave this term, the mutation? If you remember, I know like everyone can answer this. Hugo de Vries. So Hugo de Vries gave the term mutation, and according to this mutational theory, so what does this explains? So mutational theory explains us that evolution is because of a sudden drastic change because of the macroevolution. So this is how it explains macro mutation. Sorry. So here, according to the mutational theory, it says that the evolution or the changes in the traits occurs drastically or suddenly because of the macro mutations. So this is what mutational theory tells us. But now tell me whether it is true that the changes that we observe, it is like sudden and drastically occurring with the help of macro mutations. Yes or no? No. So the changes or the changes in the traits, the evolution process is a gradual process. So while it is a gradual process, whether it is accompanied by the natural selection or if there is any other force driving for the evolution, that question is still there. But one thing is clear that it is not a sudden process, but it is a gradual process. Okay. So this is about the mutational theory. So remember, Hugo de Vries, a Dutch botanist. Okay. So next, neo-Darwinism. So if I ask you in a simple word, Darwinisms everyone can explain, but what is this neo-Darwinism and who gave it? So this neo-Darwinism is like improvised concept to the Darwinism, where what Darwin explained? Darwin explained that the variation, he did not talk anything about the variation. He told that variation exists in the population. So once the variation existed in the population, this variations or the differences in the populations, because of the struggle for existence and because of the competition and the survival of fittest. So because of this, there will be a evolution with the help of natural selection, where the fittest one will survive, where the weakest one will eliminate. So this is what Darwinism talked about. But what about the variations? How these variations were generated? Like how the population inherently. So obviously, like if there is a population inherently, while the living organisms started, the life started, it doesn't, like, it would not be like variations existed from the very first stage, right? So the variations gradually came within the population, but the question that how this variation occurred was explained with the help of like neo-Darwinism theory. That's why it is like updated one. And here neo-Darwinism theory is not just the idea of a single scientist. Like there are a lot of contributors, like many contributors, out of which like these 7 are the main contributors for this synthesizing this particular theory. So what does this theory tells us about? It is a synthetic theory which tells about the variations, talks about the variations, and it also talks about the natural selection. That is why the name neo-Darwinism. And how does the variation occurs? Like if I ask you now, how variation occurs in the population. So before that, so what they try to explain, try to explain about the origin of genetic variation, like how it origin, and the next thing, and the origin and role of reproductive isolations, and third one, the occurrence and role of natural selection, the Darwinism theory, and identification of elucidation of the effects of other environmental force. So here, when I talk about the environmental force, can anyone tell me like any example for one environmental force? Yes, yes, very good. Who is this? Arka Prabhadutta. Okay, very good. So it is about the genetic drift. Sir, why you are not explaining anything here? Like you are just skipping it. So the part here is, so this is a complete whole chapter of evolution. So if you want to understand about in detail, if you want to break all these terms and understand about what is this reproductive isolation, what is its origin, and how about the occurrence and role of natural selection. So how about knowing about effects of different environmental forces. So all of this will come in a separate chapter called as evolution. So which would not be, which is definitely not in your syllabus, but it is there for the CSR exam. So which would be after your MSc. So okay, so that's why we'll not go in deeper to this section, but know it, the neo-Darwinism revolves around understanding about like how the variation existed, and after variation existed, how the species got split into 2 or more, and this is what exactly the neo-Darwinism tells us about. And how this splitting occurs, it is definitely by the evolutionary forces, and one of the very important evolutionary forces is genetic drift. So can anyone tell me like what is genetic drift? What is genetic drift? If you have to explain in a simple words or simple sentence, if not in the words, how do you explain the genetic drift? Yes, quick. Yes, I am expecting answer from you. Genetic drift. So this shifting balance theory, Sival Wright gave it. So I told you about in a simple terms, like what is the shifting balance theory. You can just keep it like that. There are bottleneck effect, there are founders effect. If I go in detail, it will never complete today. So random loss of some individuals from the population. Yes, it is like random. If something is occurring randomly, if it is related to the traits, if it is related to the population, it is genetic drift. It's just by random, without any reason. It is like without reason. See, if I ask you this question, can you differentiate between the natural selection and the genetic drift? This is how it can be best understood. So now just think by yourself. What is the reason for the natural selection? Do you, and this is natural selection is also the evolutionary force. Do not get confused. It is one of the evolutionary force, and genetic drift is another evolutionary force. Both are the evolutionary force only. So that's why I'm trying to differentiate between these two. So Now tell me, how the natural selection occurs? It is random without any reason, or it is with the reason? Simple. It is with the reason or without reason. There might be some factor which is making influencing this selection process. So that's why naturally also something is getting selected and something is eliminated. It is because of specific reason. For example, the fitness I told you about, the survival of the fittest. Only fit will survive, the weakest will eliminate. And here we say that natural selection is acting. If I say that, is it mean that it is because of some factor? Some factor is responsible? Yes or no? Tell me. Without reason, I'm asking about the natural selection. Natural selection is with some reason or without some reason? Factor in natural selection, good. So we'll talk about the factors. Sudden mutations, it is completely different. Don't mix up the concepts. Yes, it is with the reason. You agree? Okay, but same thing like evolutionary force. If there is some changes without any reason, which we can call it as random, that is called as genetic drift. Very simple. Done and dusted. Don't get confused. Beyond this, there should be no confusion. This is how in the simplest way, it can be explained about the genetic drift and the natural selection. Yes, anyhow, you have a textbook definition, but other than that, for your clear understanding, this is a difference. Okay. So now, last one, the last theory which I have to talk about is the neutral theory of molecular evolution. So, in order to understand this neutral theory of molecular evolution, what exactly it is, I can bet you, even if I give you a time today to answer this question tomorrow, you will not be able to convince anyone. If you want to convince someone who do not know about the neutral theory, you will not be able to convince, mostly. So that's my challenge. If anyone can answer like what exactly is the neutral theory. Natural selection is selection of fittest. Okay, got it. So tell me about the neutral theory of molecular evolution. If anyone is confident that you can explain exactly what it is, even after seeing this. So whatever I have wrote on the smart board, so even after seeing this, if you can explain it or if you can justify it. Okay. So yes, Ken, you can type it in the chat box. So in the meanwhile, I explain few other things. So you can type it in the chat box if you can simply, simple words, if you can explain the neutral theory. Most mutation does not have any positive or negative effect. Okay, good. Okay. So this is like one part of this neutral theory of molecular evolution with some reason. Okay. Learner has like they are just like he's trying to connect the dots. One dot is like most mutation does not have any positive or negative impact. Very good. That is the one dot. You have to connect till some dots. Some more dots are left. Yes, anyone? Okay. So I'll see, I won't anyway explain all these things text. I mostly do not do it. So I'll try to explain this. Let me know like if you have understood it or not. What are the steps in evolution? If I have to say there is a trait in a population, it has to change. That trait has to change. So what are the steps? What are the requirements for the evolution? Requirements will go later. What are the steps in the evolution? Can anyone tell me what are the different steps in the evolution occur? Yes, quick. Anyone, just think about it. Anything I have which I have left, I'll just check. Anyone? What are the steps in the evolution? I'm just asking one simple question. So just think about it. Okay, if some changes to be occurred in a population, what are the steps? Even if I can tell you, like, there are two steps in the evolution process. Generally, there are two steps to simplify it. Okay, I told you this point already. Changes observed in the genetic material. Yes, you're getting to the point. Genetics and genetics plant breeding. So two steps is first step. See, remember this fundamental rule. The fundamental rule is in order, like, if evolution has to takes place, if there is some evolutionary force that has to act on a population, one thing is mandatory. What is the mandatory thing? Where only after that the evolutionary force can act? Yes, mutation. So mutation is a one type, like, reason for the thing. But the mandatory, the fundamental thing that you have to remember is any populations which, if it has to go changes, the prerequisite is the variation. If there is a variation in the population, only then the evolutionary forces can act on it, and by this process the evolution can occur. So very first thing is having the variation within the population of a species. First thing, remember it, it is variation. So first step is like variation, two-step process, having the variation. The second step after variation, so there are two different theories which explains this. See, first one tells about the natural selection. So if there is a variation, and this variation among this, because of the survival of fittest, there will be natural selection which will be acting on it, where it will lead to the new population. New population is formed because of this two-step process. So this is what? This is explained in neo-Darwinism. This is what exactly neo-Darwinism explains. But along with this, there is one more theory which explains the two-step evolution process. What is it? Yes, recall and tell me. There is a one more theory which explains the another way of evolution. So it is about the neutral theory, where it is about the genetic drift. So if there is a variation, and the variation, whatever that is there in the population, if by chance, by randomness, if something is eliminating and the other thing is staying, which can lead into the formation of new population, it is the another type of evolution process. And this is what is explained in the neutral theory of molecular evolution. See, you can read like paragraph of things for the neutral theory and also about the neo-Darwinism. But the content is very simple, what I have explained. Whatever you read, like no matter like how many pages you read. So this is the final conclusion that you will come for, or this is a final thing that you have to understand, that evolution is a two-step process where inherently there should be variation. Once the variation is present, the natural forces can act on it. If the natural selection is acting on it, then it is the neo-Darwinism concept. If there is a genetic drift which is acting on it, this is the theory of molecular evolution, the neutral theory of the molecular evolution that was given by Moto Kimura. So now someone was talking about mutation. So now the next question is, sir, you told about the variation, but how does the variation come in the population? Because all the individuals will be obviously in a species, all individuals will be same, but how the variations between the individuals will come, or within the population will come? The answer is simple. It is the ultimate source of variation is the mutation. There might be several other reasons for the variation, but if you talk about the ultimate reason for the variation, it is the mutation, which is the cause of variation, which someone has talked about. Okay, so this is a two-step process, how exactly the evolution occurs. So according to this, if I ask you, see here, I told about the natural selection. I'll just change the color. So here I talked about the natural selection. So natural selection can be positive selection. When it can be positive selection, if the mutation will survive, whatever changes that has occurred, if that survives, it is called as positive selection. But if the mutation is eliminated, it is called as negative selection. So there are also other different types of selections that comes. If you read for the evolution complete chapter, it is not there in your syllabus, not even in the BDC, but from any other books, you will continue from this point for the PhD and for all other exams. So So that's how it is, but the starting is this one. So this is where you will start with. So after understanding the step cell annihilation, can you tell me the requirement for the evolution? What is the requirement? Quick, don't take much time to answer this question. What is the requirement for the evolution? Quick, quick, quick. Anyone? Like, what is the reason for the evolution? Like a requirement for the evolution? Yes, very good. It's about the variation. That is the final conclusion from the class. That variations are the one which will actually trigger the different evolutionary forces. Okay, and two of them which are very important for you is like natural selection, and the other one is like genetic drift. There are also other like evolutionary forces like migration, mutation, but we are considering natural selection and the genetic drift so that the terms will not confuse you. That's it. So this is all about the evolutionary genetics that is there in your syllabus. So here this selection model, so that is not needed, leave it. So if I have to summarize what I have explained till now, so don't get confused. Sir ने तो इतना जल्दी खत्म कर दिया पूरा chapter. Like it's not like that. See, from the BDCing, what is required, I have already mentioned. But it's your duty that you read each and every single sentence. But the concept behind the sentences, it is being explained by me. That's it. So we understood that two important things. Like there are two different parts. One is like talking about the origin. One is talking about the changes, which we call it as evolution. When it comes to the origin, we started with the theory of spontaneous generation. Then we talked about preformation, and then we talked about epigenesis, and then we also talked about the chemical or abiogenesis. So which talked about how the origin of tissues might be, origin of life. So all these things are about the origin. And when it comes to the evolution, you know that it is Lamarckism is there, next Darwinism. Under Darwinism, there was also about the pangenesis concept, which talked about the pangenes. And next, you have the mutational theory. And before mutational theory, you have the germplasm theory. And after mutational theory, you have neo-Darwinism. After neo-Darwinism, the shifting balance theory. And lastly, it is the neutral theory. Okay. So got it, everyone? So this is all about the evolutionary genetics for you. Okay. So this is the end of the evolutionary genetics class. So I try to simplify it, but in the notes that I have already uploaded in a typed format, there is bit of extra things. So always it's safer side to cover the extra things, but most of the things are memory based. Whatever is conceptual, I already explained it. So try to read it, revise it, and remember it. So it's your duty now. Okay. So if you are satisfied, one heart, quick. So the next classes, all the next classes will be available in our, I need it in the comment section, in the comments. So if like the students who are already a part of the master course, so you will be joining the sessions, the upcoming sessions in our master course itself. So all the updates will be provided in the WhatsApp master group, and you will have a chance to directly interact with me, ask your questions boldly. If you are not able to understand anything, you can unmute yourself and ask me to repeat again and again. Anyhow, like this is not possible in the YouTube live, but still I try to keep it very slow and very simple. Not many concepts have been explained. So similarly, but when you come in the live classes, it depends on discussion. If some student is asking some question, definitely the depth in which like we are going to explain will increase. Okay, so in the YouTube live, it is just like one-way communication. But when it comes to the agreed live classes, it will be like two-way communication where all the students will given the opportunity to interact with us, comment, and also unmute themselves and ask their queries. So this is how interactive will be, and all the students will definitely enjoy the sessions, and genetics will be no more difficult to understand and to cover. Okay, so see you all in the online master course. So if you have not yet registered to our online master course, the prices are very, very reasonable. If you just look at the syllabus that we are going to cover, the number of classes we are going to take, the number of tests that we are going to give, and the study materials that we are giving, and the all-round technical support. Anytime you call, anytime you message, you will get all the quick resolution from our end, any kind of guidance, any kind of technical queries, all of things are in place. We have given the PYQs, we have given the short notes, we have prepared the study materials, we have prepared the mock tests, we are providing the live plus recorded classes, and also we are providing the classes in both Hindi and the English for the plant sciences. Considering all these points, and we have actually working on this field in last 3 to 4 years with the best expert team who are like actually PhD and MSc scholars from the IRA and other top agriculture institutes. The price that we have kept is very, very minimal. It is not even justifying what we are giving, but still to make it affordable, we have given the affordable price. So I request you, like, if you are interested, want to crack this JRF with a good rank, top rank, if you understand, if you want to understand the chapter, if you understand the knowledge, if you want to gain the knowledge, be confident in a subject, if you're passionate about the subject of plant sciences, the master course of agri is like one-stop solution. That I can all say. Still, if you have anything to ask, or any, if you feel there is any improvement that is required from our end, feel free to ask. Be bold to post it in the comments directly. Not issue on that. Okay. Yeah, Kannada gotta, Kannada gottu. I am from Karnataka. Okay. Good. So all the very best, guys. So see you all in the master course of agri. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone. So where the notes are provided, notes are already uploaded in the master course. I'll just drop the screenshot in the WhatsApp master group. You can, if you are not getting it, just text me on the number. Number is open for everyone. You can text directly on that number and get the details. Okay. Sir, new YouTube Shorts is hard. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So keep encouraging us, keep supporting us. We'll try our best day and night to give the best quality content for all of you, so that you can also come here next time to IRA and also go to the top agriculture institutes abroad, anywhere, make your career good, so that things will be very fine. Thank you so much.